I'm 34 and live alone in a large house. I was previously married and had children, but I got divorced last year. This house is meant for a big family, but I've never found the time to move out, so I've stayed alone in this spacious home. A lot of sounds resonate through the empty space, the most common being the air conditioner, which produces a hollow thud that echoes through the walls, making it sound much louder than it actually is. At first, the noise was creepy, but I eventually got used to it. One Thursday night, after a long day at work, I went straight upstairs to change into something more comfortable. I jumped on the bed and turned on the TV in my room. I didn't spend much time downstairs because I had everything I needed in my room, so the only time I was downstairs for more than a few minutes was to go to the kitchen. I lay back, resting my eyes. After a moment, while the TV played, I heard that familiar sound again. I didn't even open my eyes. I just continued to relax. An hour later, feeling hungry for dinner, I got up and turned off the TV. As I opened my bedroom door, the bang resonated again. I couldn't recall the AC making that sound more than once or twice a day, especially without me adjusting the thermostat. I walked across the hallway to the upstairs thermostat, only to find it was off, meaning it had been off all day. I wasn't fully scared at this point. My initial reaction was to figure out why the air conditioner was running when it was off. I was more annoyed that this inconvenience had to happen tonight. Going downstairs to the kitchen, I found that the only thing left in my fridge was leftover pizza from a few days ago. I set the oven to heat it up and stood in the kitchen scrolling through my phone. Again, I heard that loud bang, which even seemed to shake the house. At that moment, I started to feel scared. I hadn't convinced myself that it wasn't just the AC acting up, but other possibilities began to creep into my mind. Once the pizza was done, I ate quickly and decided it was best to check the AC unit in the basement. I didn't want to spend the whole night feeling unsettled. I just wanted to know what was going on. I opened the basement door and flicked on the lights. The basement was unfinished, filled with old furniture and boxes of seasonal decorations. I walked down the steps to the AC unit, unsure of what to look for. I didn't find anything obviously wrong, but I did notice it was completely off. This realization didn't provide the peace of mind I was hoping for. As I turned to head back up the stairs, I caught sight of a figure crouched under the steps. The dim lighting made it hard to see, but I could see his eyes. He was hiding behind some boxes, and I knew he saw me. We made eye contact and I froze. In hindsight, I wish I had pretended not to notice and continued walking, but in that moment I panicked. I sprinted up the steps, slammed the door shut, locked it, and shoved a kitchen chair against it. I didn't hear him following me, which I took as a sign that he wasn't there to fight. I called the police while standing next to the basement door, afraid he might try to escape. I stayed on the line until the operator told me the officers were 3 minutes away. Then I heard it again. The figure downstairs was hitting something repeatedly, heavy blows against a solid surface. The sound resonated through the house, and I assumed it was the concrete floor. After about 20 hits, it went silent. Moments later, the officers arrived. They quickly apprehended the man in the basement, who surprisingly looked very normal, dressed in regular clothes, well-groomed. He didn't seem like someone who would break into a house. The officers brought out 2 tools, a thick crowbar and a large hammer. After securing the man in their car, one of the officers took me into the basement to show me what was going on. In the far corner, opposite the AC unit, there was rubble and plywood shards scattered on the ground. I was shocked. I hadn't noticed it before. On the wall, there were huge indents of metal. It turned out to be a small old safe built into the wall. The damage to the safe was extensive, and I couldn't believe it hadn't given way. Interestingly, there was nothing in the safe. I remembered the seller mentioning it and giving me a code when I moved in, but I had never bothered to stash anything there. The officer explained that they had seen this scenario before in many large homes in the area. Burglars often go straight for the safe and leave everything else untouched. What unsettled me the most was how normal the man looked. It was frightening to think that anyone could be capable of such things. I ended up repairing the wall and covering the safe, and I plan to move out soon to a smaller house where I can feel safer. This situation could have ended much worse, and I don't want to take any chances next time. At the age of 16, my parents went away on a short vacation to celebrate their 20th anniversary. I acted sad when they left, but I was actually excited to have the house to myself. They left Friday morning after I went to school, and when I got home, I made a quick snack with the food they had left me before heading to the living room to play video games all night. I had no school the next day and no one to tell me to go to bed, so I wanted to stay up late and enjoy my time alone. I played online with friends for a while, but by around 10 p.m., they all had to log off. Even my neighbor's dog started barking loudly, which was annoying since they have a huge dog and it could be heard from a distance. After a few minutes of barking, I paused my game and looked out the side window at their house. None of their lights were on, but the dog continued barking, seemingly from inside. Then I saw a man walking through their yard and onto the sidewalk. It was dark, and I couldn't see where he came from. Knowing the dog was probably barking at him, I went back to my game. About 15 minutes later, someone knocked on my door, making me jump. I was in the middle of a match and couldn't just get up. The knocks continued until I finally finished my game. When I took off my headphones, I realized the knocking was coming from the back door, not the front. Confused and a bit annoyed, I thought, maybe they would leave if they realized no one was home. All the blinds were closed, so I sat back down and continued playing. No more knocks came for a while. I played until almost 2 a.m. and was really tired. After staring at the TV for so long, I turned it off and went upstairs to bed. I lay there for a few minutes when I heard something outside, tires crunching on gravel and a car stopping in front of the garage. I stayed in bed, listening carefully. Someone got out of the car and closed the door, then walked around the house. I lost track of the footsteps when they went toward the backyard, and a shiver ran through me. I got up and slowly walked down the stairs, trying to remain unnoticed. About halfway down, I heard someone messing with the back door lock. I ran back upstairs and called the police. I tried not to sound panicked, but I was a clueless 16-year-old trying to remain calm. The operator dispatched officers and told me to wait about 10 minutes. I hung up, locked my bedroom door, and listened closely. A few noises came from the back door, then it opened. I heard someone walk in, moving quickly through each room downstairs, taking things and putting them in a box. After they went through the kitchen, they left, going back outside. I felt relieved for an instant until I heard footsteps returning to the house. They came back inside and went into the last room downstairs. I realized they had probably dropped off the box and returned for more. At this point, I regretted not revealing myself. The intruder seemed confident no one was home and was making a lot of noise. I sat in my room, listening to the horrible event unfolding below me, when the footsteps started coming up the stairs. They went straight for my parents' bedroom, which was right next to mine. After a while, the footsteps came out and approached my door. The handle shook. Then the footsteps quickly left back down the stairs and out of the house. The car pulled away in seconds. My heart raced, and I struggled to control my breathing, feeling like I was seconds away from having to fight for my life. When the police finally arrived, I told them everything. They called my parents and checked the house. The officers were confident that the intruder wouldn't return now that he knew I was inside. Unfortunately, my console and several other expensive items were stolen. I was horrified all week and left with nothing to do until my parents got home. I was just grateful that the intruder ran away and didn't try to confront me, as I feared for what might have happened if he had seen me. I work from home most days, but I occasionally go into the office for meetings or to pick things up, which happens only once or twice a month. Working from home is nice, but I often find myself getting easily distracted. On one particular day, I had a lot to accomplish and little time to do it. While focused on my laptop in the office, the doorbell rang. I rushed to the door and opened it slightly, seeing a man on my porch. "Can I help you?" I asked. "Hi, I'm looking for Mr. Peters," he said, smiling at me. That was my name, but I didn't recognize him. "That's me. What do you need?" I asked. He claimed to have important information to discuss and requested to talk inside the house. I asked what the information was about, but he refused to provide any details. "I'm okay then," I said, closing the door. I returned upstairs to my office and resumed working. A minute later, the doorbell rang again. Frustrated, I ran back down and opened the door to tell the man to leave, but he was already gone. There was no one at the door and no cars outside. I stuck my head outside and looked around, then closed the door again. The rest of the day passed without incident. I finished my work, but had to do an hour of overtime. Later, I turned off the TV and went upstairs to shower before bed. While waiting for the water to heat up, the doorbell rang again. Checking my phone, I saw it was 10:30. I wasn't going to open the door, but curiosity got the better of me. I went back down and looked through the peephole. There was a man on the porch, dressed in dark clothing and wearing a face mask. Even with the cover, I recognized him from earlier based on his body shape and stance. My body froze as I watched him through the peephole. He rang the doorbell again, and I could see he had something large in one of his pockets, either a knife or a gun. It didn't feel real. I quietly backed away, but I think he heard me because he called out, "I'm looking for Mr. Peters. I just need to tell him something important." Thinking he knew I was there, I ran upstairs and called 911. Just then, a gunshot rang out, piercing through the house. The sudden sound made my ears ring, and I couldn't hear what the officer was saying. The ringing faded after a minute, and I heard nothing else. I was sure the man had left, but I decided to wait for the police. It was quiet until I heard sirens approaching. When they seemed nearby, I opened the bathroom door and stepped out. That's when I saw the front door was busted open. Not a second later, the man sprinted across the hallway and out the door just before the cops pulled up. I think he shot the lockout, and my ears were ringing so badly that I hadn't heard him come inside. I gave the police a description of the man, but there wasn't much to go on. It was clear he had come to my home to hurt me, likely intending to kill me. He knew my name and had been looking for me, which still terrifies me. Until he is caught, I don't think I'll ever feel safe again.